The Giver. The Giver #1 by Lois Lowry. Anxiety and uncertainty. Jonas perched on the edge of his neatly made bed, the pale walls of his bedroom closing in as his stomach twisted into knots. The ceremony of 12 loomed just days away, casting a shadow of uncertainty over him. In his community, where emotions were regulated like clockwork, Jonas's recent surge of feelings was an anomaly, a deviation from the norm. That evening, as his family engaged in their customary sharing of emotions, Jonas's sister Lily recounted her frustration with a boy at the play area. Their conversation, a dance of words and understanding, led Lily to a place of patience and empathy. When Jonas's turn arrived, he struggled to articulate the storm within. His throat constricted, his chest tightened, and his breath hitched as he grappled with a sadness that seemed to have no bottom, a happiness that soared too high, and an anger that burned too fiercely. His parents, sensing his turmoil, offered comforting words, but Jonas knew his emotions ran deeper than their soothing platitudes could reach. The following day, Jonas's service at the House of the Old exposed him to the raw realities of life. The scent of antiseptic mingled with the mustiness of age filled the air as he tended to the elders. Their vulnerability, their dependence, it stirred a well of compassion within him, a yearning to embrace life in all its raw and unfiltered beauty. As he made his way home, the weight of his thoughts bore down on him. His community, with its strict adherence to conformity, left little room for the exploration of self. Emotions were managed, individuality was a distant dream, and the freedom to feel was a luxury few could afford. Jonas yearned for a world where emotions weren't shackled, where people could embrace their true selves without fear of reproach. That night, as sleep eluded him, Jonas felt trapped between two worlds. The world he knew, where emotions were muted and rules were followed without question, and the world he craved, where hearts beat to their own rhythm and minds roamed unfettered. The dissonance between these worlds gnawed at him, fueling his longing for change and a life filled with meaning. As he finally slipped into an uneasy slumber, Jonas sensed that the winds of change were stirring. Little did he know that the journey ahead would upend everything he thought he knew, challenging the very foundations of his existence. The ceremony of 12. Jonas woke to the day of the ceremony of 12 with a knot in his stomach, the significance of the day heavy upon him. Dressed in his plain tunic, his number 19 pinned to his chest, he joined the other 11s. The auditorium was vast and orderly, filled with a soft murmur of families in their ceremonial attire. Jonas's family settled into their seats. His father's hand gave a reassuring squeeze, and his mother's smile, though strained, offered silent encouragement. Lily, brimming with questions, was gently silenced by their mother. The chief elder's voice resonated. "Today we honor the maturity of our new 12s, her gaze touching each child. You will each receive your assignment, your role in our community." The children were called forward one by one. Jonas clapped, his hands damp, his heart pounding with anticipation. He felt pride for his friends, Asher and Lily, as they accepted their roles. But as the numbers were called and surpassed 19, a chill of panic set in. Jonas's name had not been called. Whispers spread, and he felt the piercing gaze of the community. His parents' confusion was palpable, yet their grip on his hands was firm. "Jonas has not been forgotten," the chief elder declared. "He will be our new receiver of memory." The applause was thunderous. The assignment ceremony. As Jonas and his family made their way to the town hall, the air was filled with a mix of anticipation and solemnity. The sun shone brightly, and a gentle breeze carried the sounds of conversation and laughter from the gathered crowd. Upon entering the hall, Jonas was struck by the splendor of the room. The walls were adorned with intricate tapestries, their vibrant colors and detailed embroidery depicting scenes from the community's history. Bookcases lined the perimeter, their shelves filled with ancient tomes, each one a repository of knowledge. The air held a faint scent of aged books and incense, adding to the sense of reverence that permeated the hall. The chief elder stood at the front, her kind smile offering reassurance to the nervous 11s and their families. "Today we gather to celebrate a significant milestone," she began, her voice carrying a sense of warmth and authority. "Our 11-year-olds are transitioning into adulthood, and it is my honor to be a part of this momentous occasion." Jonas's heart raced as he listened to the chief elder's words. He scanned the room, taking in the expectant faces of his peers and the proud smiles of their families. The assignments, he knew, would shape their futures. The chief elder continued, "The assignments are carefully chosen, taking into account each individual's strengths and weaknesses. Today, we will unveil these paths, and our young ones will take their first steps toward their new roles." Jonas watched as his friends Asher and Lily were called to the stage. Their assignments were announced, accompanied by praises for their unique qualities and contributions. He felt a mix of happiness for them and a growing nervousness for what awaited him. Then an unexpected turn of events occurred. The chief elder seemed to skip over him, moving on to the next 11. Jonas felt a jolt of surprise and confusion. The room grew quiet, and he sensed the eyes of his peers on him. The chief elder quickly rectified the situation. "My apologies for the oversight. Let us continue in order." Jonas's heart sank as he realized he had been intentionally skipped. He felt a rush of emotions, confusion, curiosity, and a growing sense of isolation. The chief elder cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention back to the stage. "And now, it is my honor to present to you Jonas!" As Jonas made his way to the stage, his legs felt like lead. He felt all eyes on him, and his heart pounded in his chest. The chief elder placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, and he looked up at her, searching for answers. "Jonas has not been assigned in the traditional sense," she said, her voice steady and calm. "He has been chosen for a unique and important role, one that requires exceptional courage and wisdom." The room erupted into a flurry of whispers and murmurs. Jonas felt a rush of conflicting emotions, pride at being singled out, but also fear and uncertainty. He stood there, feeling exposed and vulnerable, as the chief elder continued. "Jonas has been selected to be the new receiver of memory," she announced, her voice carrying a weight of importance. "He will bear the weight of our community's memories, both the joys and the pains of the past that we have chosen to set aside for the sake of harmony." Jonas's breath caught in his throat. He felt a hand on his shoulder, and he realized it was the chief elder, offering him support and comfort. The audience's reaction washed over him, a mix of awe, admiration, and pity. He felt set apart from his peers, suddenly thrust into a role that seemed both daunting and sacred. "Will I be prepared for this role?" Jonas asked, his voice trembling. "Yes, Jonas," the chief elder assured him. "You will undergo training with the current receiver, who will impart to you the memories and wisdom of our collective past. He will guide you through this extraordinary journey." As the ceremony drew to a close, Jonas felt a sense of disorientation. His friends approached him, their congratulations tinged with a newfound distance. He was no longer just Jonas. He was the receiver in training, marked for a destiny that set him apart. That night, Jonas lay awake, his mind racing with questions and doubts. He felt the weight of his new responsibility pressing down on him. What did it truly mean to be the receiver of memory? What memories would he have to bear? Despite his fears, a sense of purpose began to take root within him. As sleep finally claimed him, he knew that his life had irrevocably changed. The path ahead was uncertain and challenging, but it was his to forge, and he resolved to face it with courage and determination. As he drifted into a restless sleep, he knew that his life had changed forever. The path ahead was unknown and daunting, but it was his to walk, and he would face it with all the courage he could muster. The memory of the chief elder's words echoed in his mind. He will bear the weight of our community's memories, both the joys and the pains of the past that we have chosen to set aside for the sake of harmony. What did it truly mean to hold such a burden? What secrets would he uncover? The questions swirled in his mind like a vortex, pulling him deeper into the unknown. Journey of Knowledge. Jonas sat quietly in the annex room across from the giver, a figure both imposing and kind. The giver's eyes reflected a depth of knowledge and sorrow that Jonas was only beginning to understand. "Are you ready for today's session, Jonas?" The giver's voice was gentle, yet it carried a weight that seemed to fill the room. Jonas nodded, though his heart raced with a mix of fear and anticipation. "I think so," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. As the giver's hands touched his shoulders, Jonas felt himself being transported to a different time and place. Suddenly, he was no longer in the annex. He was atop a hill, the cold bite of winter nipping at his cheeks, the thrill of a sled ride coursing through his veins. But as the sled picked up speed, the exhilaration turned to terror. The sled was out of control, careening towards a tree. The impact was jarring, and Jonas felt a sharp pain in his leg, a broken bone, a sensation entirely foreign to him. Back in the annex, Jonas gasped for air, his hands trembling. "Why did you show me that?" he asked, his voice tinged with both pain and curiosity. "To understand," the giver replied solemnly. "You see, Jonas, in our society, we've chosen to numb ourselves to the extremes of human experience. We've eradicated pain, but in doing so, we've also lost the beauty of joy. We've suppressed emotions, but in doing so, we've also lost the depth of love and connection. To truly understand and appreciate the world, you must experience both the heights and the depth." Jonas's mind reeled with the implications. His community, with its sameness and suppression of emotions, had never prepared him for this. The memories continued to flood in, memories of war, of families, of love and loss. Each memory etched itself into Jonas's being, reshaping his understanding of the world. Why can't everyone have these memories? Why just me? Jonas's question was a desperate wish to share the burden that was growing heavier with each passing moment. The giver sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. Our society chose to be this way, to protect itself from the pain that comes with such knowledge. But you, Jonas, you are the receiver. You must bear these memories so that others don't have to. It's a heavy responsibility, but it's a necessary one. Without memories, we're left with a shallow existence, devoid of true meaning or purpose. Jonas's heart skipped a beat as the giver's words trailed off. He felt the weight of his newfound knowledge settling upon him, like a mantle he was not sure he was ready to wear. But he knew he had no choice. He was the receiver now, and with that title came a responsibility he could no longer ignore. As the session came to a close, Jonas nodded, still reeling from the memories that lingered in his mind. He left the annex, the weight of his newfound knowledge settling upon him, like a mantle he was not sure he was ready to wear. Isolation and resistance. Jonas's world was changing rapidly. With each new memory, he felt the weight of his newfound knowledge growing heavier. The pain and suffering he experienced through the giver's transmissions were unbearable at times. He would scream, sob, and feel overwhelming fear and helplessness. As the memories accumulated, Jonas began to experience a deepening and intensifying of emotions. He felt anger, sadness, grief, and happiness in ways he never had before. These emotions were more profound and genuine compared to the superficial emotions felt by the citizens in the community. One day, Jonas asked the giver, his voice shaking with frustration, "Why do I have to bear this burden alone? Why can't everyone in the community understand what it means to truly feel?" The giver's eyes filled with compassion. "You're not alone, Jonas. I'm here with you. And soon, you'll understand why this burden is necessary." Jonas tried to talk to his friends, Asher and Lily, about his struggles. "I'm different now," he said, trying to explain. "I see things differently. I feel things differently." Asher looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean? You're still the same person." I can't explain it, Jonas replied. You'll just have to trust me. But they didn't trust him. They didn't understand him. And Jonas felt like he was drowning in a sea of ignorance. As he walked through the community, people watched him with curiosity and suspicion. They moved aside for him, whispering as he passed. The stares were like daggers, reminding him that he was different, that he carried secrets they could not fathom. In his dreams, Jonas wandered alone, the memories of joy and color fading into the stark white of his reality. He awoke with a start, the echoes of laughter turning into the silence of his room. One evening, as he sat with his family, Jonas tried once more to bridge the gap. I wish I could share this with you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. His father reached across the table, placing a firm hand on Jonas's shoulder. We may not understand, but we see the change in you. Jonas nodded, but the words felt hollow. Pride was not the companion he sought. It was understanding, a shared experience. The next day, Jonas met with the giver, his eyes heavy with unshed tears. I can't do this alone, he confessed. The giver's face was etched with lines of sorrow and wisdom. You are stronger than you know, Jonas, and sometimes strength comes from the struggle, from the resistance. I don't understand, Jonas said, his voice cracking. The memories I've given you, they're not just random experiences, the giver explained. They're a collection of human emotions, of pain and joy, love. And loss. They're what make us human. But why can't everyone have access to them? Jonas asked, feeling a sense of injustice. Because the community is afraid of the pain, the giver replied. They're afraid of the uncertainty, of the unpredictability that comes with true emotions. They think it's better to live in a world without pain, but also without love, without joy, without true humanity. Jonas felt a surge of anger towards the community, towards the elders who had created this sterile world. But it's not better, he said, his voice firm. It's empty. It's hollow. It's not living at all. The giver nodded, a small smile on his face. You're beginning to understand, Jonas. You're beginning to see the truth. The horrifying truth. Jonas sat rigidly on the cold metal chair, his eyes wide and unblinking as the large screen flickered with the sterile light of the nurturing sun. The room, shrouded in shadows, seemed to close in on him, the silence punctuated only by the hum of the screen. His father's image, once a symbol of tenderness, now morphed into something sinister as he administered a procedure on an innocent newborn. See, little one? It's just a small pinch, his father's voice, light and soothing, belied the gravity of the act he was performing. Jonas's gaze was locked on the syringe in his father's hand, the squirming of the baby, the stark contrast between the gentle words and the finality of the action. The giver's hand rested heavily on Jonas's shoulder, a silent pillar in the storm of emotions. Watch closely, Jonas. You need to understand, he whispered, his voice a soft echo in the cold room. As the needle pierced the baby's skin, Jonas's heart raced. His breath caught in his throat. He wanted to look away, to flee from this nightmare. But he was rooted to the spot. The baby's cries filled the room, a desperate plea, then abruptly ceased. Jonas watched, horror-struck, as his father wrapped the tiny, lifeless body and placed it in a box marked elsewhere. Jonas's voice was barely a whisper. Why isn't he moving anymore? What did you do to him? That is the reality of release, Jonas. The truth that's been concealed from us, the giver replied, his voice heavy with sorrow. Jonas's mind reeled, grappling with the revelation. But my father, he wouldn't. He doesn't know, Jonas. None of them do. They don't comprehend the finality of death as we do now. The giver explained, his words measured and heavy. Jonas felt a wave of emotions crash over him, leaving him gasping for air. His father, the man he revered, was unknowingly complicit in a grave act. Jonas's eyes, brimming with tears, turned to the giver, his voice trembling. How could they do this? How could my own father be a part of this? It's the price of sameness, Jonas. The richness of human experience, the pain, the joy, it's all been eradicated. And with it, their grasp of life's true value, the giver said, his gaze reflecting a deep well of sorrow and resolve. Jonas clenched his fists, the anger and despair tangible in his grasp. It's wrong. I can't stay here, not with this knowledge. I knew this day would come, the giver acknowledged, his eyes distant yet determined. The community has its virtues, but the system is flawed, not the people. Jonas rose, his legs unsteady. I must act. I cannot be complicit. The giver stood, casting a wary glance at the door. I agree. It's time for you to venture beyond, to a world where emotions and choices are free, but we must be cautious in our planning. Jonas's resolve solidified, even as his heart pounded with the gravity of their decision. And you? Will you join me? A melancholic smile graced the giver's lips. My place is here, to guide them once you're beyond their reach. I will remain to sow the seeds of change, to nurture them with the memories you leave behind. It is a burden I am prepared to carry. Jonas nodded, a silent vow forming in his heart. Then we'll begin at the ceremony. Gabriel and I will find thee elsewhere. The giver's eyes held a spark of something fierce and proud. Yes, Jonas. You will find thee elsewhere, and with it, a new beginning. Perilous journey. The night enveloped Jonas and Gabriel in its icy grip as they pressed on, the stars above their only guide. We need to keep moving, Jonas urged, his breath a ghostly wisp in the chill air. They're relentless in their search. Gabriel's face, pale but resolute, nodded in agreement. They pedaled the old bicycle through the darkness, the drone of distant search planes, a grim lullaby that spurred them onward. As dawn painted the horizon with a promise of light, they sought refuge in a thicket, the ever-present hum of engines a stark reminder of the danger trailing them. We're part of the night, Gabe, Jonas reassured, as elusive as the wind. In their hideaway, they huddled close, sharing the meager warmth between them. Their journey was fraught with peril, the landscape an uncharted expanse of shadows and secrets. Yet Jonas's unwavering determination was their compass, his hope of reaching elsewhere, a haven of freedom and choice fueling each weary step. The terrain unfolded before them, a tapestry of darkness and whispers of the wild. The days wore on, the cold deepening its bite. Jonas wrapped Gabriel in his tunic, their shared body heat a fragile shield against the frost's assault. We'll make it, he whispered into the night, his voice a blend of conviction and silent fears. Each step became a testament to their resilience. The summit loomed ahead, a beacon of hope amidst the relentless pursuit. As they crested the hill, the panorama unfolded, a sprawling tapestry of civilization. The lights below, not stars but windows, pierced the darkness with their warm glow, each a silent promise of sanctuary. The distant melody of life, muffled by the snow, whispered of safety and a future. Jonas held Gabriel close, their breaths mingling in the frigid air as they gazed upon the threshold of elsewhere. We're almost there, Jonas breathed. The search plane's ominous shadow now just another part of the night. Hope for a new life. The chill of the night air was biting, but Jonas kept moving, his arms wrapped tightly around Gabriel. The warmth he had received from the giver burned within him, a beacon against the cold. They had been walking for what felt like an eternity, the landscape around them a blur. Are we close? Gabriel's voice was small, muffled against Jonas's chest. Jonas adjusted his hold on the little boy. Yes, Gabe, we're close to somewhere. somewhere where we can live freely. He recalled his family's laughter, the giver's kindness, and the sense of belonging that had once filled him. These memories kept his feet moving. They stumbled upon a frozen stream, its surface glinting under the starlight. Jonas knelt, breaking the ice with a stone, allowing Gabriel to drink. He remembered streams flowing despite winter's grip. "We'll make it, Gabe. We have to," Jonas whispered, more to himself than to the boy. Gabriel nodded, his eyes reflecting trust that weighed heavily on Jonas's shoulders. They continued on,